Today we're going to do some review problems about the product rule, the quotient rule, and the power rule for exponents, since that's what you are working on in your Get More Math assignment. So the product rule tells us that when we have bases that are the same, we can add the exponents. So if we look at this first example, x to the fourth times x to the eighth, the bases are the same. So we add 4 plus 8 to get x to the 12th. On the second example, this is another way of writing multiplication. We can have one term in parentheses and another term beside it. And it doesn't matter if this term is before the parentheses or after the parentheses. This is multiplication. So x to the fifth times x to the seventh, we would add 5 plus 7 to again get x to the 12th. On the next example, we are looking at the quotient rule. The quotient rule says that we are going to subtract the exponents. So on this example, we have x to the sixth over x to the fifth. 6 minus 5 is 1. So our answer is x to the 1 or just x, because that 1 can be invisible. On the next one, my 3 is not very clear there, but this is supposed to be x to the 8th over x to the 3. Again, we can do 8 minus 3. That leaves us with an x to the 5th in the numerator. The next one is a little bit different. We again have a quotient that we're looking for, but in this case, we have more in the denominator. So if we do 4 minus 7, that's going to give us a negative answer, or we can just look at this as 7 minus 4, and the remaining x's are going to be in the denominator. So we're going to put a 1 in the numerator, and then 7 minus 4, this is x to the third in the denominator. The next section is the power rule. In this case, when we raise a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So on this one, we have x to the 4 raised to the power of 2. 4 times 2 gives us x to the 8th. This one, x to the 5th times x to the negative 3. That would give us x to the negative 15, but I don't want to use a negative exponent. If I have a negative exponent, that's going to move this x to the denominator, so it will become 1 over x to the 15. The next one, we have x to the 0 raised to the power of 4. 0 times 4 equals x to the 0, and anything to the 0 power can be simplified to 1. The next one, x to the negative 2 raised to the power of the negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 6, that gives us a positive. So this is x to the 12. Okay, these last two are going to be multi-step problems. So on this one, the first thing I'm going to do is multiply the x to the third times the x to the fifth. That means I add 3 plus 5, and I get x to the 8th in the numerator. And then x to the 7, x to the 4, that gives me x to the 11 in the denominator. Now I'm going to use the quotient rule to subtract. And again, in this example, I have more x's in the denominator. So I'm going to put a 1 in the numerator. 11 minus 8 gives me x to the 3 in the denominator. Okay, this one, I don't really have enough room over there on the edge, so I'm going to write underneath. X to the 4th times x to the negative 4th. I do 4 plus a negative 4, that's x to the 0. And then this is raised to the power of 8. Again, anything times 0 is 0. So this equals x to the 0, which equals 1.